What's up, everybody? This is Jason, and if you know me or know anything about me, you know that I love movies. I love films. I love TV. I love all things media. So in lieu of ending the year on a good note, I've constantly heard a lot of people say, hey, nothing really good came out this year. It was a slow year, but thinking back on it, I had a fantastic year when it came to movies and TV. So I thought I'd make a little list of the best films I've seen this year, the most fun films that I got to see this year. And that the most fun doesn't mean that they necessarily came out this year, but I'm trying to keep them as close to around this time period as best. The best bad movies that made me laugh this year, the best TV that came out in previous years that I just got to see this year, and the biggest letdowns of the year. So without further ado, let's just jump into this. We're going to start off with the most fun films I got to see this year. Now, these are films that I wouldn't necessarily say would be the best films. And when I say the best films, I mean that really stand up to cinematic integrity, that really kind of drive cinematicness. Like when you think of the best films of the year, you think of something that's really going to stand the test of time and really have to say something not only academically as a filmmaker, but also something that touches on, a wide vast of different array of concepts and feelings and emotions and things like that. So here are the list of the best movies. Here are the list of the most fun movies I got to watch this year. The first one was kind of out of left field because I had never heard about it before I watched it. It was called Boss Level, and it's essentially Groundhog Day in an action movie. Outstandingly fun. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time and just with a grin on my face from beginning to end. Fat Man.
Канал Англии. Так, очень нужна твоя поддержка, поэтому ставь лайк и подписывайся на канал.
Nah, I think they deserved it.
Starring Mel Gibson as Santa Claus, and how can you go wrong with this combination? It was amazing. The only thing in the movie that I thought was kind of going to be bad is if they introduced elves, and I was like cringing when they did, but then they did it really well and really smartly, and I absolutely loved it. It's probably one of my favorite new Christmas movies.
It's a giving that keeps him young.
I've come for your head, fat man!
Dashing through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh.
You think you're the first?
All the fields will go.
Everything is Terrible. Now, Everything is Terrible is a group of filmmakers and archivers where they found old VHS tapes, and then they take snippets of these VHS tapes and make thematic films out of them, and it's breathtaking to watch. The editing is jaw-droppingly good, and they have a bunch of different films out there. Highly suggest, if you're a film fan, fund these guys. Go to their webpage and you can buy their movies, and they're amazing. Essentially, they're just mixtapes of found footage put thematically together with a theme, and it's jaw-dropping to watch.
He has been spotted again.
Finally tonight, if history has shown us anything, it's that Jesus can appear in any form.
Finally tonight, Jesus is just popping up everywhere these days.
Finally tonight,
Finally tonight,
a man in Kentucky says he's got a spoonful of Jesus.
Happiest Season. Happiest Season was a movie out of left field because I had no feelings about it whatsoever before I watched it, and I really caught myself off guard by how much I enjoyed it. It's a Christmas movie. It's prototypical, very cliche and tropey, but a hell of a lot of fun.
I cannot believe I've got all my daughters under one roof.
So her parents believe their straight daughter brought home her lesbian friend for Christmas?
Not exactly. They also think that I'm straight.
Have they ever met a lesbian?
My wife recently this year really got into kaiju films. Now, we've been watching a lot of like older bad movies, and she really wanted to watch kaiju films. So we started from the beginning of the Godzilla series, and we watched a bunch of Godzilla films, and we're just jaw-dropping how good the old films are. Yes, they're rubber suits, and yes, they're kind of corny, but they're really well told. So it kind of caught us off guard. So we're going through all the kaiju films, and there's like 70 films, Godzilla and the side characters. So we're going through that right now.
Deny it, but your eyes tell you it's true. A tale to stun the mind. More fantastic than any ever written by Jules Verne.
One Cut of the Dead. Probably the most unique zombie film you will ever see, and I'm pissed it took me this long to finally see it. It's uproariously funny, it's clever, it's scary at times, but it's jaw-droppingly good how good of a movie this is. And if you haven't seen it, One Cut of the Dead, I mean, don't waste your time. Go watch this movie.
Let's go.
Raiders, the story of the greatest fan film ever made, is a documentary about these kids back in the 80s who went to go see Raiders of the Lost Ark and then decided to make their own version of Raiders of the Lost Ark. They just retold the whole movie. And now they're in their late 40s, early 50s, whatever, and they're finally finishing the film. It's remarkable to see this whole thing come together. It's a lot of passion. It speaks to me as a filmmaker.
The first big break in our friendship was over a girl.
How could he?
They didn't want to do it anymore. They both went their separate ways.
I will never work with that guy again. Done.
Odd Family Zombie for Sale is a Korean film about a zombie who staggers into this family's life. And when the zombie bites you, instead of causing you to be a zombie, it rejuvenates your youth. So they start selling bites to the local men in the community. It's a funny ass film, but also when shit hits the fan, it gets really good, really good. Like, it's surprising how much of a genre twist it can go. Vampires vs. the Bronx was a Netflix movie, came out about Halloween time. It was a self-aware meta schlocky movie about vampires in the Bronx, and these kids in the Bronx have to stand up and protect the Bronx. Now, I would say 90% of the movie is fantastic until the very end, where it just lost all steam and just stopped caring. So the ride is really fun. The ending really sucked.
Are you seriously out at night when you know there's a couple of vampires running around? We're gonna need some garlic and some wooden stakes, like right the hell now.
Going to the nest and take out every last one of them.
Vivarium. I am utterly pissed at myself for not seeing this movie when it first came out. It is amazing. A couple wants to go see a house. They're thinking about moving into a house, so they go see the property, and lo and behold, they're stuck on this land that they can't get out of, and in this house for who knows how long, and it just becomes creepier and creepier and creepier, and it's really freaking good and hard to explain. You really have to watch it to take it all in.
Want me to drive? Because I think this is not possible. We can't make turns like this over and over.
We have gone this way, Tom. Oh my god.
Hello?
Onward was a great animated film. When I saw the trailer for it, I was kind of hit or miss. I'm a big D&D fantasy person, so seeing something that was hitting on that but not hitting on it well enough, it kind of twists my emotions around. But the movie was really sweet. It made me cry at the end. It was delightful.
It's a wizard staff. Dad was a wizard.
What? Your dad was an accountant.
This spell brings him back. For one whole day, Dad will be back.
What?
Back?
Old Guard. Old Guard was a Netflix property based on the comic book by the same name about, I want to say vampires, but really they're immortals who have lived forever, and then they go around the world kicking ass. Yes, it is hokey at times, but it was a delightful hokey. It was a roller coaster of fun.
What's up with that? I have the new one. What's up with that?
And?
I think she has potential.
Love and Monsters. Holy crap, this movie came out of nowhere. I had never seen the trailer for it. I'd never heard anything about it, and I just got the movie one day, and this is absolutely one of the most fun movies I got to watch all year. Essentially, all the insects in the world grow to be kaiju size, and people go underground, and like 99% of the population is wiped out. And this one kid is still in love with this girl across the country, so he decides to go up on the ground and fight his way across the country, fighting these kaiju along the way. It is uproariously fun. Highly suggest it.
Don't move.
Let me see it.
Don't move, Amy.
Let me see it.
Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
That's super sweet, because it's terrible.
Where have you been, Joel?
Amy, I love you. I'm gonna come find you.
The day of the monster uprising was the day I lost everyone.
Vast of Night. Vast of Night was a beautiful film, and I wanted to put this on the best film of the year, but I didn't really think it hit the right marks. Vast of Night is like, it brings me back to like when I was a kid and I stayed up all night on the internet trying to figure out like conspiracy theories and are aliens real, things like that. It's fantastically fun.
This is WOTW Radio in Cayuga, New Mexico, and this is the news for the hour.
What would you like to tell us about yourself?
I don't know.
Cool, aren't you like some big science girl? Tell me about science.
While films were coming out left and right, I really found a lot of solace in bad movies. And by bad movies, I mean movies that when they were being made, they thought they were going to do a lot of great things. Like think about The Room or Birdemic, like Troll 2, like very, very popular. Anyone who's like looked into bad movies, these are like the top movies that everyone's heard of. So I went on a deep dive mission trying to find the best of the worst of these kind of movies. And this year was absolutely a joy to really deep dive into all these films. So much so that my buddy and I started a podcast where once a week we watch a truly out of the woodwork, like we'd never heard of the movie before, and then we review it as critical filmmakers with this film.
Yeah, me too. I never thought that we would have one where we would have such an in-depth, thoughtful kind of film analysis as opposed to, haha, it's bad. Let's like what happened with Vice Academy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, like this was a really quite a breath of fresh air.
So the movies that made me laugh the most this year of the bad movie genre, or surprisingly, I really enjoyed from the bad movie genre, was Deadly Prey from 1987. And it's about a guy who is kidnapped off the street and he's made to be human hunted. And these ex-military commando guys are going to track him down and kill him. And little do they know, they captured the wrong guy. And pretty much the entire plot that normally would consist of like an hour leading up to like the action parts is compressed into 5 minutes in the intro. And it just goes. It's just nonstop hilarity of bad acting from A to Z. It's fantastic watch.
You're gonna die.
The next movie, and probably the only movie that has ever made me get out of my seat and lie on the floor because I'm laughing so hard that my stomach literally hurts, was a film called Suburban Sasquatch. And I had heard about this for a long time, and I finally got my hands on it. I bought my copy, and I wish I would have bought 10 copies because I should have handed these out for Christmas. It is the funniest effing movie you'll ever see, especially if you know anything about filmmaking, if you know anything about like what makes a film work, as story-wise, plot-wise, character-wise, lighting, editing, anything like that. It takes no effort at all to watch this movie and understand that everything is going wrong, including a scene where the Sasquatch picks up a cop car, but instead of having like a fake car that he can pick up, they just took a screenshot of the car and put it into Photoshop and warped the image so it went like this. So you would never see the back end of the car. You would just see the image go like this. And he's like, the sound is burnt into my brain. And it's going to be my first cosplay in a long time. I'm going to dress up as the Suburban Sasquatch.
Don't be printing anything that hasn't been approved by the force yet.
Fate is something no one can change.
Are you all right?
What is going on? Just drive!
I really got into AGFA films this year. Those are American Genre Film Archive, and these are the really lesser known films. And the AGFA goes out of their way to find the original copies of these and make them the best quality possible, and produces beautiful discs with extra features, commentary, lost films on it. And these are films that, you've never heard of. They're so out of whack and out of the norm that they're amazing to watch, because there's a lot of creativity and a lot of genuine heart that goes into these films. And the first movie we watched of it was called Zombie Ninja. But definitely when video was available, but they decided to shoot on film, and it looks like 8mm, maybe 16mm. And it's not bad. I mean, yes, it's absolutely terrible, but it's staggering how much work went into this movie and how much time they put into this little schlocky movie, especially the villain of the film. Holy crap, this dude steals the movie. Absolutely. And then I immediately watched it again with the commentary and it fell in love with this. So I started buying more of these released films. And the first one was Scary Tales. And Scary Tales is an anthology story, 3 short stories in one feature film. Think like Tales from the Crypt or Tales from the Dark Side, something like that, or Creepshow. And they are uproariously bad, just utterly terrible films with zero plot. It just feels like they just went out very like Scott Shaw-ish, the Zen filmmaking, with zero script, zero forethought, and just went out with a camera and started making. But they obviously had some kind of a script, and the script was bad. but because of this like passion, I felt that this is what I was like when I was younger. When I got together with my high school friends and we went out just to shoot a fun video, and we had a really bad script and we thought it was awesome. Then we watched it and realized no one should ever see this again. So those movies are all in my basement, locked away forever. But this, like, they had the balls to actually go out and do something and make a movie out of this. So I thought it was utterly fantastic that this existed. Probably the funniest movie outside of Suburban Sasquatch that I watched this year was Get Even. And I am not pronouncing that wrong. It is Get Even. Apparently, they either... one of two things. I've heard both stories. It's supposed to be Get Even, and either another movie was called Get Even, or they didn't put the space in right. So that's what the movie was called, Get Even. Later, it was re-released after reshoots were done. To the movie called Road to Revenge. And it's obviously a self-masturbatory film where this guy wants to be seen as a badass, and my cat is coming in right now. Hi, Rex. So it's a self-masturbatory film about a guy who wants to be seen as a badass. There's even like a 3-minute training sequence where he's kicking and punching a punching bag on his front porch, and it's obvious that he has no idea what he's doing. And even to go into a 5-minute song in the middle of the movie where he gets up on stage and sings, "Why are you wet?" Okay. So Get Even was hilarious.
He's the one who murdered the baby.
What? Really?
And probably the movie I quote hands down the most that I watched this year was called Lady Terminator. Holy crap. Lady Terminator is hilarious. It is terribly bad. I think it's Indonesian. Oh. Motions detected at my front door. But it was done after the Terminator came out, and they were trying to bank off the idea that Terminator was really big, and it has zero to do with Terminator whatsoever. It's funny as hell. If you like bad movies, you should absolutely track it down. It is freaking hilarious.
The South Sea Queen has reincarnated.
De l'éternité qui nous entoure, nous ne savons rien.
So those are the bad movies this year that made me laugh. While the films were good this year, I think with everyone being home and understanding that time kind of felt weird, and it felt more like people were off work, or people like me who actually lost work, you needed to find some kind of solace. So I think the biggest winners of the year were the TV shows, and we're going to get into that in a second. But the best films of the year. Before I jump into this, I want to do the biggest letdowns of the year. And these were ones that, these were films that I watched the trailer and I had hope, and I really hoped that they were going to be okay, that they were going to be amazing, and they just sucked. The first is Tenet. Christopher Nolan is an amazing director. He's wonderful. But the problem is he is making a breakneck speed film that was just boring. The science and nerd parts of the film were awesome. They were grounded. I really wanted to learn more about them. But the problem was the filmmaking, the storytelling, the actual part that should connect you wasn't there. So when things were happening, I didn't give a crap about the characters because I didn't know them. I didn't spend enough real quality, breathable time with them. The movie was a giant letdown. Peninsula was a huge letdown. I loved the first film. Train to Busan was a Korean zombie film with a lot of heart and a lot of humanity in it, and it was scary as shit. Peninsula pretty much just makes a silly I don't know. It was just really boring. It was essentially Fast and the Furious done with horrible CGI, and it was just laughable. And it wasn't laughable to the point of like a bad film where you can laugh at it. It was boring. It was really boring. New Mutants. I had a lot of hope for this one, and I read the reviews that it wasn't going to be very good. And truth be told, I didn't dislike the movie. The biggest disappointment about this is they made it like a pilot of a TV show where the plot actually starts at the very end of the movie. Everything up into that is just essentially an act one of world building. The movie is a lot of fun. I love the characters. I didn't think Danny I'm forgetting her name. Moonstone. In the comics, I was never a very big fan, but in the movie, I actually really liked her. Same with Sam Guthrie. He was okay in the comics. Again, I wasn't a huge fan, but in the movie, he was really good. I was a big fan of Magic in the comic books, and I still am. But come on. In the movie, she's kind of a bitch. So I think they got her right, but I just don't think it was on par with what I wanted. And it just ended. It just ended at right as the story was getting. When it got to the end, I remember sitting there on my couch thinking, oh crap, now the movie can really start. This is exciting. And then the credits rolled and I was like, oh, it's already been an hour and a half. This is done. And my phone's ringing. Rule of thumb, if you call and you're not in someone's phone and you don't leave a voicemail, you don't get a call back. Biggest letdowns of the year. Let's continue. #Alive, another Korean film about zombies. And what made this a letdown was the trailer made it look exciting and fun and innovative. And while some of those aspects were in the movie, unfortunately, the main character was a shitbag. I didn't like him. He was slow to react to things. He didn't take things seriously. It was very hard for me to give a shit about a character that I didn't like. Extraction. Extraction was an action movie. And there's not much more to say about that other than I was bored the entire movie. You cannot just have action nonstop. Let's look at the John Wick films. John Wick 1 was amazing because you had slow world building aesthetics that brought you into the world before action happened. So when action hits, you're actually caring about the character and what happens to them. Whereas John Wick 2 was just nothing but action, and I couldn't give a shit less what happened to anybody because I wasn't spending time with anyone outside of an action sequence, and I was bored. I was so bored. Speaking of being bored, holy shit, Possessor. Possessor looked to be probably one of the most innovative and intelligent films of the year, and instead it just falls flat. If this had been done by a small independent company rather than the bigger budget service that it got, I think it could have been something intriguing and compelling, but what we got was something that was so self-righteous and boring, to say the least. It was not a good film. Project Power, I believe, was a Netflix movie that came out, and the hype for it, it looked fun. It looked like a fun romp. I didn't want to take it seriously. It looked fun, but the movie came out and I was bored. It felt like your prototypical standard tropey action movie, and I couldn't give I didn't care. It was boring. Sputnik looked like a creepy atmospheric film from the trailer, and unfortunately, it was atmospheric in the wrong sense. I was bored out of my skull, and it never really got me emotionally connected with anyone. And I think that's it. Is you can have no action, you can have no compelling, contrasting conflict in your story, and still be absolutely compelling by the emotional context of what you're dealing with. A perfect example of that would be Arrival, about the alien film, where they're trying to discover the language between humans and aliens. And a lot of that was this human element of learning who these characters are, so that when they're actually doing these elements in the film, you're really connected to them and you want them to learn, you want them to progress. And when things happen, it's actually emotionally invested in the audience. And these movies, they're just not hitting it right. Tesla looked outstanding. It looked like a fun little like wink to the audience kind of movie about, did this really happen? Did this not happen? Let's just go ahead and tell both sides of the story. It's a lot of fun. And then the movie it felt more like a History Channel original that didn't take itself seriously, but it got a big budget. The last movie that was kind of the biggest letdown of the year was Extraordinary. And Extraordinary was a movie that in the trailer, I was biting my lip because I was so in love with the concept and so happy with the casting and everything else. And then I wanted to watch the movie so badly. So when I finally got to watch it, it was just, they tried to be funny instead of just being funny. And I think that's something a lot of movies fail at doing when they make a comedy, is they try to make a joke instead of just being themselves, being the character, being in the moment, and having the moment be funny. And telling the joke makes it seem stupid and lifeless. Let's get into the best films of the year. Now, I'm not going to categorize these as top to least. I'm just going to tell you the movies that kind of blew me out of the water for the year. And some of these movies on this list, I don't think would ever make a best of for the year. But I think for the year it's in, for the year it's happening, I think a couple of these movies are really freaking relevant and powerful. First movie I watched was Gretel and Hansel, a very artistic, beautiful take on the Hansel and Gretel mythos or fable. And it kind of caught me off guard because I thought it was Hansel and Gretel, but there's so many other Hansel and Gretel movies out there that they changed the name to Gretel and Hansel. It's jaw-droppingly good. The set design alone is worth just watching the movie for. You know the plot, you know the story, but it goes a lot deeper than the old fable, and it really makes you feel like there's more to the story than we were ever told about. And the art design, the costuming, everything about it was lavish and beautiful.
There's something wrong here. But it's so pleasant. Where are all the animals? From where does she draw milk?
The next movie I watched was Color Out of Space. And I'm not going to go into this. I'm not going to go into this plot because it is a wild ride. And the less you know about this movie going into it, I think the more you're going to enjoy it. Don't watch trailers for it. Just watch Color Out of Space on a night when you have nothing else to do. Sound of Metal is about a metal drummer who is slowly going deaf and is introduced into the deaf community. And the thing that blows me away most about this film, yes, it's emotional, yes, it's gripping, yes, it's outstanding, but the sound design for the film is really good, especially when the concept of the film, the actual premise of the film is talking about sound and the loss of it and how key it is to your life. It's beautiful how detailed the element they went into with the sound design of the film. And I think that it was pivotal, and it had to be that way. It was very much, it felt to me like Whiplash with the editing of Whiplash. Like the editing of Whiplash was so important that if they didn't take it seriously, I think the movie would have fallen apart.
Let's keep moving. It can be a damn cruel place. But those moments of stillness.
Da 5 Bloods was a Spike Lee joint about African American characters in the Vietnam era, and holy shit, like it tugs at your heart. The real life footage of Vietnam is amazing, but it seems to be funny at the same time. And Spike Lee has a track record of having the back and forth, the flip flopping genre, and I think that's okay. This one, it works really well. The Black Klansman, I think it didn't know what it wanted to be, where it was super serious and comedic, but the timing always felt off in Black Klansman. With the Five Bloods, it actually feels like he's really finding that kind of flow between drama and comedy.
Brother man in all his glory.
Who was that guy?
That brother was the best damn soldier that ever lived.
VHS. Holy shit. This is another movie that really kind of needs to be seen to understand. For anyone who grew up in the 80s with the VHS culture, you're absolutely going to flip out and love this, with a star-studded cast of amazing comedians and amazing actors and actresses who just bring out this creepy yet super nostalgic and amazing concept of VHS jumping. I don't want to go too far into it, but you will absolutely love it, especially if you have any kind of love for like older media. You'll absolutely love this.
That's called projection. When you project your problems onto other people, it's called projection.
I'm not a drunk.
That staining actually is blood.
Borat 2, and this is the movie that I really think hit home, probably one of the strongest elements of this year. Similar to how the TV show last year of The Watchmen felt like almost hauntingly predictionary of what was going to be happening in 2020. If you haven't seen the TV show of Watchmen yet, holy shit, stop what you're doing and go watch it. It was hands down the best TV show of last year. And I'm including Mandalorian and Cobra Kai in that as well. So let me know. That should tell you how important it is. Borat, on a far less serious note than Watchmen, it pokes fun at, again, American culture, American society, and American ideals of racism and sexism. And as soon as they introduce a child into any TV show, any movie, 99% of my brain clicks off, because 99% of the stuff out there, when they introduce a child into a TV show or movie, turns to shit. Like the story just gets so boring when you have like a main cast and then, oh, we can't do anything yet, so let's bring the kids in. It gets really boring and bad storytelling most of the time. This is one of those few times that I was caught off guard, and I'm blanking on her name right now, but the actress who plays Borat's daughter is so good. She stays in character when at times when I think, holy shit, I would have ripped out of that character and just been laughing at that moment. And it is glorious to watch them. Oh, hi Yuki. Did you come to visit the show too? You're not gonna let me pick you up though. So Borat 2, it speaks for the times and the COVID and the heated hatred in America from different political avenues. Oh, okay, you're not. Okay. It was funny as shit, but it was also kind of telling about where we were at politically.
Michael Penis, I brought the girl for you.
Borat's subsequent movie film. You fist me. Now I fist you? What do you prefer? You fist me or I fist you?
Same time.
Fist each other. Yeah,
there you go.
The anime film Weathering with You was absolutely stunningly beautiful, and it was a beautiful follow-up to the film Your Name. If you haven't seen Your Name yet, it was an outstanding film. Not the best anime film of the previous, I think it was last year or the year before. That one goes to A Silent Voice. Oh my God, if you have not seen A Silent Voice yet, go watch A Silent Voice. It is remarkable. And I should not be wearing red. Today's my birthday, and my friend got me an awesome shirt. The design's on the back. So I've been wearing it all day. Weathering with You was beautifully animated. It was beautifully told. It was a wonderfully creative and very unique story. If you're looking for something unique, you are in the right market for this.
私知らなかった。青空が欲しい人がこんなにたくさんいるなんて。
天気って不思議だ。ただの空模様にこんなにも気持ちを動かされてしまう。心をひなさんに動かされてしまう。
Yes, God, Yes is a story about a young girl who is growing up in the early 2000s, late 90s, and coming to the idea that sexuality is an okay thing. And she's being told left and right that sexuality is evil and deplorable. And it is this beautiful coming of age story that I think more people should be watching.
It's okay if you think things are totally weird.
I'm gonna need your cell phone and watch. You won't be needing a watch this weekend anyway because you're on Jesus's time. See ya.
Probably the best film I saw of this year was Sorkin's Trial of the Chicago 7. Holy shit. It was amazing. Essentially, the movie is an actor, masturbatory actor-a-thon. It is the wet dream of actors to be in this movie. There is not a lot of set pieces outside of a courtroom and a couple exterior places, but the acting is phenomenal. And you can always wow the shit out of me when I get to the end of a movie and realize, oh my God, I didn't know that actor was in it. And even though Sacha Baron Cohen, who plays Borat, was one of the main characters of this film, and I had no idea it was him. He was such a good actor. And then Frank Langella plays the most deplorable, evil son of a bitch I have ever seen, next to like Butcher Bill or the Emperor from Star Wars. But the judge that Frank Langella plays is a real person, and that motherfucker should go down in history as one of the worst people to ever exist. If you have not seen this movie yet, do yourself the favor and watch The Trial of the Chicago 7.
Are the people ready to make opening arguments?
At the defense table, Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, Dave Dellinger, Rennie Davis, Lee Weiner, John Freund, Tom Hayden, and Bobby Seale.
These defendants had a plan, and the plan was to incite a riot.
I call this portion of the trial with friends like these.
My trial's begun without my lawyer.
The court assumes you are being represented by the Black Panther sitting behind you.
The coolest thing that I thought about this movie, the Trial of the Chicago 7, was that yes, it is a historical film, it is a biopic, it is a court film, but it's written so well and the dialogue is so rapid fire good that never once do you watch this and you're bored. It is captivating at every second of the film. Like, I was on my seat the entire time. So let's get into the best television I watched of 2020. Now, I think 2020 really speaks to a lot of people at home this year. A lot, like I was mentioning before, a lot of people are at home. So I think television allows us not only to have something readily available for us, i.e. streaming networks and things like that, but having that elongated story, it allows us to live in those characters. It allows us to live in that story a little bit longer. So I think television is probably the winner of the year when it comes to media. Now, I watched, unabashedly so, I'm going to admit to this, I watched way too much TV this year. I tried my ass off to get a lot more work in the meantime, even though 90% of my business was taken away from me this year due to COVID. So in the process, I ended up watching far too much TV. Now, this list is a little bit longer than any of the other lists. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I will say I've watched a lot more than what this list has. And I need you to know that a lot of the shows out there are not good. But this year was remarkable. Now, before we jump into this, I want to talk about two quick shows that I got to watch this year that were not from 2020, but I finally got to watch them, and my eyes are still screaming for more of these shows. They're both anime shows. One's called Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga. If you enjoy anything about history, especially the Viking era, this is absolutely your show. If you are a Vikings fan from the TV show Vikings, if you haven't watched Vinland Saga yet, you're doing yourself a disservice. Not only is the scale of the show grandiose, because essentially we're in chapter 1 right now of like a 300. Motion detected at the front door. Yay for FedEx for bringing food. Thank you, FedEx. Thank you, Woodman's. Okay, anyway, let's get back to the TV shows. Vinland Saga. Freaking watch this. It's amazing.
At the end of the first millennium, appearing all over the lens, far and wide, were people who pushed atrocity to its limits. Vikings.
The other show is called Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions. It's a delightful show about a couple kids who end up falling in love with each other through their shared delusions of grandeur. Remember how when you were a kid and like you got that cardboard sword in your backyard and you're pretending to be like a knight fighting demons? Well, these kids never really grew out of that. They still do that, like into their high school days. And it's absolutely jaw-droppingly adorable. There's a lot of episodes. I believe there's 52 episodes, plus 2 movies, plus a bunch of OVAs. So a crap ton of content for you to enjoy. Now, we're going to jump into the 2020 shows that I think were just amazing and everyone should watch. The Boys, and I know The Boys isn't a 2020 show, but season 2 was. And as much as I liked season 1, I liked season 2 better for a multitude of reasons. The Boys is a very PG version of what the comic book is. If you like the show The Boys, stop listening and go read the comic, because the comic is one of the best comics I've ever read. And The Boys TV show is a very watered down, censored, very calm version compared to the books. But the show is still very good. And what I like most about season 2 is it strays from the comics so much that now we're getting new content. And this is kind of like what Walking Dead did, where it started off based on the comics, and then it said, no, fuck it, we're just going to do our own thing and bringing some story elements as we go. But the problem with Walking Dead is it's a pretty boring story because they keep focusing on the zombies and overarching. Anyway, this isn't about that. The Boys is fantastic. I think season 2 was stronger than the first, and that's why I have it on here.
We're the 7, Earth's most mighty, motherfucker!
Lovecraft Country was a amazing show. I love Lovecraft, and I love everything that the Lovecraft lore brings to the world of horror and the world of storytelling. And the acting of this show was amazing. I love that they set it in the social rights era with predominantly black characters and a black cast, and the actors are just amazing. It is so freaking good. However, my biggest complaint is that it does veer off the goodness from time to time, and it feels like it's trying to wrap up a story when really you should be following H.P. Lovecraft's mentality of leaving the end blank and trying to get other people to fill in the blanks with their own horrible imagination. So Lovecraft Country was really fun, but it wasn't a show that I really looked forward to every week.
I thought the world was one way, and found out it isn't.
I haven't even gotten to the real strange part.
My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. This is an anime show. It's an isekai show. If you're not familiar with isekai, it's in another world is what isekai means. But this girl wakes up in a story that is one of her favorite romantic video game stories, where she is playing the villainess of the game, and she knows no matter what she does, everything is going to turn out bad. And it is 12 or 13 episodes of pure saccharine sugar, delightful, upbeat character moments of just pure positivity. If you need more amazing, glowing, wonderful, happy things in your life, watch My Next Life as a Villainess.
嫌よこんなの嫌乙女芸の悪役令嬢このままだと破滅する
The Great. Holy crap. This is about Catherine the Great, who pretty much takes over Russia. And it is the slow progression of her coup to take over Russia. She is sold into being the queen of the king of Russia, and the horrible things that happen behind closed doors of the rich and famous is boggling. It is a delightful show. It bounces back and forth, but it is constantly emotionally engaging.
Together, we could create a greater Russia.
I rule. You serve.
Your bride is unhappy. You must clear the clouds.
We should find you a lover. Marvelous.
Wave, Listen to Me is another anime show that I think was freaking amazing. I wish I had this show in like my 20s when I was really like rip roaring, wanting to do all these things. It's about a woman who finds her passion being a radio DJ and just flowers in the wake of everything. It is outstanding.
ギリギリで蘇ったいつも湧き出てる無根拠な自信が
ちょろい
私ミナレさんが好きですし憧れてます中原さんをもてあそばないであげて次のお便り
Teenage Bounty Hunters is a show on Netflix about two sisters who inadvertently become bounty hunters. And it's funny, it's quirky, it's serious, and it's masterfully done. I think it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I ripped through that probably in a day.
We obviously have a gift for this line of work. What if we become the best bounty hunters in Atlanta? What's stopping us?
Hola, Carolina. Yo soy trabajo.
Devs. Devs is an awesome story about a software engineering company. Think like Google, like huge end, internet company, technology company. And it's this small little group of developers who are doing something behind closed doors. And I don't want to give it away because that's the beauty of the show, is the slow evolution of the mystery of everything. I will say it is thoroughly thought out and wonderfully told. Freaking watch Devs.
They're fanatics. We need the police.
You want to take them down? It's impossible.
You knew I was going to come here.
The sense that you were participating in life was only ever an illusion.
Hunters is a show on Amazon that I'm kind of upset more people don't know about. It's told in the style of like a grindhouse 1970s exploitation film, but with bigger budget, better actors, and holy crap, it is jaw-droppingly good. I've watched this show twice so far, and I am just as amazed the second time as watching the first. Essentially, it's about a bunch of characters like there's a black character, there's a couple Jewish characters, and it's these characters who are living in America in the 60s and 70s, and they are hunting down the Nazis who live in America and killing them. If that doesn't entice you, I don't know what is. Yes, Rex, thank you so much for...
You do this. You become the evil you are fighting.
They're broadcasting something.
It's a coded message.
And we find them before they find us.
Okay, you're back. Utopia. I found out too late that this is an American remake of a British show by the same name. And Utopia is fantastic. It's about a comic book that is a cult favorite comic book is figured out to be true. It's a backstory of one of the characters who lived in a horrible, horrible place that did medical experiments on him. And it is the slow progression and fast progression of what this government and this corporation is going to do to the world. And it's scary as shit. It's really good. And it's one of the few shows where no one's safe, where people can die and main characters do.
Stern's flu has now been declared a national pandemic.
This is our undoing.
But we can fight it. We'd just be going into the belly of the beast, practically begging to be slaughtered.
Yes. Yeah, what? That's extreme.
Beast Stars. Beast Stars is an anime based on a manga by the same name, where anthropomorphic animals live as humans. And it is an emotional roller coaster of emotions. I can't really say much more about than that without giving plot points away, but it's very good. It is done with a 3D animation, which I usually really cringingly hate, but they did it so good that I am stoked for Beastars Part 2 to start literally in like 3 days from this recording. I'm very stoked for it.
That was the moment I discovered the small rabbit and my instincts.
Upload, done by Greg Daniels, the same guy who did the American version of The Office, is about someone who dies and their rich girlfriend shoves them into a afterlife that you have to pay for. And even things like you wanted to do, like if you want to dress up in this afterlife or you want to eat in this afterlife, someone who's alive has to pay for it. And it's this cringy realization that might be where our world is going. Really, really beautiful.
Yes. It's 10 a.m. Breakfast is over.
What? No, it's not even real food.
New guy coming through.
This one.
Do I dare?
Dare. Yes.
Hey, boundaries.
Cute. He thinks he's cute.
You may ask yourself, how did I get here?
Denied. In-app purchase required.
Mandalorian, again, season 2, I think was stronger than season 1. The one thing I did not like about season 2 is it felt very mission heavy. It felt more like a role-playing game than a TV show, and I got kind of bored knowing the concept was go to point B, solve point B, so go to point C to solve point C. Instead of just having one flowing story, it felt very chaptered instead. But amazing episodes. So loved it. Keep your hands off Aizuken. Anyone who has ever had a passion about creating, whether it be movies, comics, music, whatever, knows that other people have that passion too. So seeing 3 kids get together to make a cartoon, make an anime of their own, it is delightful and probably the most hype intro song of any TV show I have ever heard. I've been rocking out to this song all year. Queen's Gambit. What do I have to say about Queen's Gambit that 100 other people haven't already said? And I think a lot of people, when they review this, say like, well, I wasn't into chess, but now it's really compelling. It's like, it has nothing to do with chess. It has nothing to do with the subject matter of a show to get you invigorated with it. You think I'm interested in killing Nazis or hunting down bounties or things like that? It has to do with the characters and the way the story is being told. Chess is just a plot point of the show. I don't watch it for the chess. I watch it for the amazing characters and the character arcs and the development and the flow of the plot and how characters will come in and out of each other's lives and build on each other. It's beautifully told. And oh my God, the cinematography is so freaking good. If you are a film fan and you have not seen Queen's Gambit, fucking stop what you're doing and watch this.
Tell the readers of life how it feels and to be a girl. among all those men.
I don't mind it. Chess isn't always competitive. Chess can also be beautiful.
Then you have some awesome animated shows like let's talk about Solar Opposites, the Hulu original by Justin Roiland. If you don't know who Justin Roiland is, you're not watching TV. You should be watching TV. If you've heard of Rick and Morty, a lot of people think Dan Harmon is like the fuel machine behind Rick and Morty. But I think most of the creativity goes to Justin Roiland, especially after watching Solar Opposites. A lot of the rapid fire jokes and the humor and the voices and the character motivations and things like that really feel like Justin Roiland. I think Dan Harmon brings a lot of doom and gloom and overarching story motifs to Rick and Morty, but Justin Roiland is amazing and I want to watch everything he does. Solar Opposites is about aliens living on the planet Earth and trying to meld in so they can go about their business and get off planet Earth or stay, depending on which episode you're watching.
We may be trapped on this world, on the brink of mass extinction, plagued by a species that destroys the environment, but at least we have each other.
Oh, that's sick!
What I missed?
I thought you weren't shrinking kids down anymore.
These are adults. They love it.
Good night, Mr. Janitor.
Fantastic. I've watched the series 3 times now. It's very rewatchable. It's very funny. And it's rapid enough that you're not going to catch everything the first time. So watching it a couple times is really cool. And it has that doom and gloom that Rick and Morty has. So if you're a Rick and Morty fan, this is essentially like a love letter Easter egg to Rick and Morty. You should definitely watch it. Probably the animated show that took me most off guard this year was Harley Quinn. What the shit? I was not expecting anything from this. I think DC fails so miserably most of the time when it comes to movies and TV shows. I think their live action TV shows are almost all pitifully bad. I think most of the movies outside of the Nolan films are really bad. Like terrible. And I could go into arguments if you guys ever want to talk about it. But Harley Quinn, first off, Harley Quinn's a fun character, but when you're given the opportunity to put Harley Quinn into an uncensored, let's just blow the casket out of the ground and do what we want with this character, and the side characters really rein everything in together. This show is marvelous. I watched the first episode and I was kind of taken aback by how interesting it was. But as I progressed and watched more episodes, I just became more and more enthralled with the character and with the story. And the fact that it's an ongoing story, it's not a sitcom-esque story where everything gets fixed at the end so the next episode can start back over. It's not like Family Guy. It's a continuous story from A to Z, and it is freaking amazing. I love it, and I cannot wait for new episodes of Harley Quinn.
If he wants to fuck with me, I will fuck right back.
Harley's at Penguin's nephew's bar mitzvah. Seems like she's doing pretty well.
You know she has HPV, right?
Most sexually active adults do.
And anyone who is a respected supervillain is in the Legion of Doom. That's when you know you've made it. If Joker can get in, so can I.
Speaking of which, and I did not bring it up earlier, the movie Birds of Prey came out this year, and I had it on my list, but it is definitely not one I really want to talk about. But I will say it surprised me. Was it a great movie? No. It was pretty bad for a lot of things. But Margot Robbie, I love you as Harley Quinn when you can actually play Harley Quinn. And we saw her in that terrible DC film, The Suicide Squad. Part 2, I'm kind of interested in because James Gunn is directing. And I think when it comes to films, the director is pivotal to the story, as we saw with the Star Wars trilogy, that should not be named 7, 8, and 9. Jesus. Or let's say Ready Player One. Steven Spielberg is an amazing director, but he honestly did not like the subject matter, and he refused to put any of himself into this story, and it fell apart because he didn't give a shit. And then you have David Ayer, who did the first Suicide Squad, and it sucked. And if you look at his track record of films, they're not good. So then you have someone like James Gunn come in to take over a property that could be done fairly well. And perfect example, James Gunn did the Guardians of the Galaxy. It was a comic book that when I read Marvel, I love Marvel comics. It is the little kid version of Worm. So if you're into superheroes, stop what you're doing, go read the book Worm. It's free online. It's long as hell, but it is the most intensive superhero story you will ever read. So Marvel is a lot of fun. It's a lot of like, I see myself in characters, things like that. And whenever the Guardians of the Galaxy came into a story, I was bored. Like they were boring characters. So James Gunn really took these characters and like rehoned them into something more pliable, more lovable, more wonderful to watch. So with him doing this with Suicide Squad, I think Suicide Squad could be awesome. But we didn't really get to see Margot really kill it as Harley in Suicide Squad. I know I'm going way off track, but I am bringing it back. I'm pretty impressed with myself. And we're getting to see what Margot Robbie can really do with Harley Quinn. And she nails it in The Birds of Prey. With the facial features, with the goofiness, with the over the top, like her only caring about a burrito during a fight. That shit speaks to me much louder than big action set pieces, because that's kind of boring to me. Unless you're going to go so crazy over the top with action, most action's pretty boring. So that is my 2020 rundown of the best films of the year, the most fun films I got to watch, the bad movies that made me laugh, the best TV, and the biggest letdowns of the year. What did you think? I know this was crazy hella long, but literally you guys just spent my birthday with me. And usually for my birthday every year, I like to go out to the theater and I watch movies from opening till closing of the theater. And this year I didn't get to, but I got to talk about it. And that to me is exciting. So thank you for indulging me and sticking with this for this long. And if you are here this long, I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts. What were your favorite films of 2020? What were your favorite TV shows of 2020? What shows and movies didn't hold up? Do you agree or do you disagree with some of my statements? If you thought Tenet was amazing, let me know why in the credits. I'm really interested in the comments. I'm really interested in learning more about film. And also, there's a bunch of films I didn't get to see yet that are on my list of movies to watch. And if you give me a second, I will open up. I have a list of movies that I am waiting to see. I have Bad Education. I have Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. I have Totally Under Control, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and The Wolf of Snow Hollow. These are movies I did not get to watch this year, and I'm really kind of bummed I haven't seen it before this, but now I have something to look forward to for the next week. And going into the new year right now, we have a couple days off, and I'm going to go indulge my movie-ness. That's the right word, right? Guys, thank you so much, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. And let me know if you want me to do more of these. I know this was... God, I got burps. I'm sorry. I know this was crazy long, and I don't like watching other people's long videos like this. So let me know your thoughts on what you would like me to do. And I'm all about making content this year. This is the year of content for me. So if there's something like, oh man, we would love to hear your thoughts on movies, on TV, on whatever, please let me know. And then also I'll put down in the link somewhere a link to the podcast me and my friend Andrew are working on right now, where we review bad movies, because at the start of March, when the pandemic hit, two guys freaked out and ran into the closest place possible, which was a movie video rental store, and boarded up the windows and are still there to this day, watching movies to stay sane because they're too scared to leave. And that's us. It's a lot of fun. We're watching movies that I've been putting on the back burner for years and finally getting around to see. So it's kind of making me do it. But that's it. I hope you guys, for 2020 was a shit year, but I really hope 2021 is going to be much, much better for all of you out there. And I really hope 2020 was a decent year for you. I know a lot of shit happened and a lot of bad things happened, but I really hope you guys are safe, staying healthy, and taking care of each other. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in 2021.